Welcome back. Is the housing market crashing? Are we seeing mortgage foreclosures rising? Let's dive deep to see what's going on. I know all the negative news out there. We have doomers out there who's been talking about housing crash for the past 5 years. There are many housing crash bros, many doom and gloom content creators in the social media and in the YouTube channels are talking about foreclosures, crashing, the world's coming to an end. Let's dive deeper to dispel all the potential misconceptions, inaccuracies, negative headlines, clickbait for the sake of monetizing. So let's share the real data so you can make an informed decision about whether to buy a primary home or for real estate investors to continue to buy good properties. So let's dive deep into it. This data come from Housing Wire, and the headline is why foreclosures are still below pre-pandemic levels. According to the most recent data from the New York Fed, foreclosure data for the housing market is still below 2019 levels. Although foreclosure rates rose in the last quarter, we are far from the stressful levels that we saw during the run-up to the housing bubble crash back in 2008. Let's go over the foreclosure data. The chart below I'm going to share with you illustrates the foreclosure data show little stress for many years prior to the onset of COVID-19, and it has continued to perform well since then. Post-COVID, for many years, levels were abnormally low, and we should have returned to pre-pandemic levels by now, even with the foreclosure prevention programs in place. The current state of housing credit appears to be much healthier when compared to credit cards, auto loans, and student loan data. So as you can see, foreclosure and new bankruptcies are still below pre-pandemic levels. The foreclosure data is a dark red, and the bankruptcy data are in light orange. As you can see, during the housing crash back in 2008, we have seen some very, very extreme elevated stress. However, since then, since the 2008 crisis, we have seen a very low, historical low foreclosure and bankruptcy data. Now, back to this particular comment here, it tells me the current state of housing credit appears to be much healthier when compared to credit cards, auto loans, and student loan debts. What this paragraph implies is that the homeowners, the people who own homes, are at a very low state of delinquency. They are very comfortable with their debt, with their finances. Only renters, non-homeowners in the country, they have high consumer debt, student loans, in particularly credit card loans and car loans, those kind of things. So you really have to break down what type of people are under stress what type of consumers are under stress. Again, people who typically, on a historical basis, does not own any kind of homes. They have a higher level of financial issues than homeowners. I just want to distinguish whenever you see any kind of information out there in social media. So you have to dive deeper into those kind of headlines. So let's talk about the FICO score, the credit data, which is very critical, obviously. FICO score is your credit rating. So the FICO score data for housing has been impressive since the qualified mortgage QM laws were implemented after the housing crash. The majority of people in the country are obtaining 30-year fixed rate loans, which provide stable debt costs. With rising wages, cash flow for most homeowners have been stable for the past 14 years. As a matter of fact, the homeowners have owned more equity than ever before in history. They are sitting very pretty. They are very comfortable with their historical 30-year fixed rate low mortgage on historical rate. So they're very comfortable. We've been hearing is a lock-in effect. The reason why for the past few years, there's a lack of homes for sale because the inventory is so low relative to the demand. The resale market is completely crashed, meaning sales transactions has been the past few years has been the lowest in history due to mainly to the lock-in effect. Homeowners are not moving because they are in a good way stuck with their historically low mortgage rate of as low as 2.5%. So they are locked in forever for most people, not all. Let's continue. The qualified mortgage, the US has avoided recession since the housing crash, since 2010, because the qualified mortgage laws and the 2005 bankruptcy reform law have played a significant roles. These laws helped moderate household credit expansion, preventing consumers from over-leveraging on large scale. They have truly been the unsung heroes of the U.S. economy in this century. So high credit scores dominate for mortgages now. The majority of FICO score data for 14 years have been 720 and above. You have a FICO score, different category. So I used to be a credit repair specialist for many years, from 1989 to 2010. So I understand credit. I repair people's credit back in the old days, no longer. I quit that business 15 years ago to enter real estate investing, which I advise many thousands of real estate investors in the country to buy regular cash flow homes in the investment properties in the best locations in the country. But anyway, FICO scores, if you have a higher 720 or higher FICO score, you are A paper. If you're 680 to 720, you're like a B plus type of if you have a FICO score of less than 680, you're like C category, which is a little bit of risk out there. And your ability to qualify to get any kind of homes these days in a competitive housing environment, if your FICO score is less than 680, is very slim. That's how it goes. The American dream, or not happening if you have a very low credit score. That's how it is these days. As you can see, a lot of people now in the past few years have a very high FICO score. They have a very stable financial life, as you can see here, especially back in 2021. Of course, and the other type of borrowers, people have less than 790, 660 to 719, and 620 to 659, and below 620 over here. People below over here, for sure, they're not going to qualify to buy a house. People on pink color, anywhere from 620 to 620 to 659 over here. Again, they're going to be very difficult for them to buy a house with a loan and so forth. So, in conclusion, while there are signs of credit stress in credit cards, auto loans, and now student loan debt showing up again in delinquency data, homeowners, I mentioned this already, at least on paper, appear to be in a stable position overall. Again, the homeowners have more equity today than ever before in history of America. As a matter of fact, of all homeowners, 40% of all homeowners does not even have a mortgage. Think about that for a moment. So homeowners not only tend to have strong credit scores, but they also possess a significant amount of equity in their homes. That's pretty obvious. So the Great American Cash Cushion, 82% of borrowers have at least 30% equity in their home. As I mentioned, 60% of homeowners have a loan to value of 60% as here. And then over here, the pink area, 61 to 70% of people have great home equity. So anyway, equity is the name of the game. So if you own the home for a long time, based on the skyrocketing of home prices over the years, the winners in this housing market are homeowners. The winners of the economy are the homeowners, especially if you own your home for a long time. So the American dream is still alive and well. So my conclusion is, now that the credit markets has improved, we do not see any stress reflected on the data. foreclosures, delinquencies are trending back to normal levels. And again, contrary to all the housing crash, all the doom and gloomers are reporting all kinds of world coming to an end for the sake of clickbait. So you have to understand the source. I'm not saying everything is hunky-dory. No one knows what the future holds. There are a lot of things going on, economic uncertainty, the tariff situation, recession looming, and the labor market is really kind of challenging. And the mortgage rate is still fairly high at 6.9% now, according to Mortgage News Daily. So skyrocketed housing costs and elevated mortgage rate still. And so a lot of people are very uncertain for the housing transaction for the spring housing market is very challenging. But just focus long term. All I ask is people to hunker down and just manage your finances. And still, people are buying houses these days. So if you're ready to buy a house, if you're ready to invest in real estate, invest. As long as you qualify, you have a good financial cushion. Your goals are very, very ambitious. Then who's to say you should not pull the trigger and do what's for yourself and your family? With that said, again, the recap is contrary to all the doom and gloom and housing crash bros are preaching housing crash every single day. We're still seeing foreclosure at a historical low normal rate. But things could change. We never know. But that's my conclusion, and that's the data I've shared with you. Please comment below what you think about the foreclosure and delinquency situation. Please comment below. And again, if you receive any value whatsoever, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also, if you have not already done so, put your email on my website below so you can become a free member of our real estate investment network community that we have several thousand members to learn about real estate investing. That's what I do. As a matter of fact, I'm a real estate consultant. I help people nationwide to buy turnkey cash flow properties in the most affordable markets, in the fastest growing markets in the country, turnkey with professional property management, the whole 9 yards. Thank you so much. This is Siwei Yi. Have a nice day. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.